So, hello everybody. Today we're going to do a mass unboxing because I've received several items in the mail, some of which are not playable on their own, namely the More Visitors expansion for Viticulture. I'm expecting Viticulture, the Essential Edition, tomorrow. I've also got Tuscany, the Essential Edition, on order. I mean, I thought, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to go all out anyway. So let's take a look at this. This is essentially just a deck of cards. And I would like to draw your attention to this beautiful box. I mean, I just love the box art, the simplicity of the box art. I just love this image. Let's see how this opens. Very nice. It's a typed box. Won't come off. Okay, let's see. Oh God, here we are. Maybe, maybe not. Not. Okay. Here we are. And these are little cards that you get for the visitors deck. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to check what size they are because I was unable to obtain information that made sense. So I've got two different types of sleeves, but to me that looks very much like the normal ones. Yeah, these are even, yeah, this would fit. These will definitely fit. Yeah. Okay, so of course, because as you know me, I'm a slave for sleeving. So these are cards that you can get for the winter, I guess, and probably the spring or summer, I don't know. So those go in here. Next up we have two Pax games, the two Pax games by Sierra Madre Games. Now I have to admit, much to my shame, that I hadn't heard of Sierra Madre until 2 weeks ago. Sierra Madre is a game design group that design games whose intention is to teach people about history. So they have this, they basically set out to teach people history. They have, they say it's our mission to make games that teach you about a certain historical era and to make educational games that are not boring, I guess. Now, I had heard of Pax Pamir, and I'd seen this box, but it's a game for 2 to, I think, 4 players. And so I can't play it, because I only play alone. However, I came across a video by Rick Royal of Box of Delights, who did a playthrough of Pax Pamir and his own solo version called something Knives, I'm not sure how to pronounce the first word, which he designed and which in 2016 was actually picked up by Sierra Madre Games and was actually released as an expansion to Pax Pamir. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. Because I like card-driven historical games, and I would show you these two, Habsburg Eclipse by Victory Point Games and Ottoman Sunset. There are playthroughs on my channel for both of these, and these are my all-time favorite go-to games. They are really, really good. And actually, since I'm going to flip the video, I'm just going to flip this as well, because otherwise it's going to be upside down. These are you have a map. They are States of Siege based games where basically armies move towards Vienna in this case, and I think Istanbul in this case, and you have cards that decide what actions you can take, how many, and what's happening in the different theaters of war. And of course, it's, I would say, a very basic war game, but it is a historical war game. And I really love the mechanics of playing cards and also of getting the flavor text. So when I heard that Pax Pamir has a working solo variant, I decided to get the game. But of course, I was unlucky because it's out of print. So I searched high and low, and I finally found it on Board Game Geek. And it was sold by Belisario88. He's a great person to do business with. He is in the United States, but he ships to Europe. He's one of the very few people who will ship to Europe. I ordered this last week. I want to say Tuesday. It's Tuesday today. It took him less. It took US Postal Services less than a week to ship it. It was brilliant. Now, the base game comes with a rule set. It comes with, and just in case you're wondering, this is not in shrink because he bought it. He never played it. He just unpacked it and checked for it for completeness. It comes with little wooden cubes. I don't recall. I think you place them on a board, and I'll come to that. This is money, and these are also chits which represent different, I believe, different countries. So. But the meat of the game is, of course, the cards. So, whoops. And the game out of the box doesn't come with a game board. So it's not, you would just basically put out the cards and then just play it, I guess, which so you have these different regions, and you would I believe put them out on the table. However, let's just check what I think these are not. Yeah, I think these are normal. Yeah, that would be too wide. Okay. So I don't have sleeves for these ones, but that's fine. So essentially, also the cards feel really good. Very nice cardstock. Yeah, these go together. I don't know enough about the mechanics to tell you about them, because obviously when I heard that I could play this game, I was like, okay, I'm not going to watch the playthrough until I've got all of the pieces ready, because I really want to play this and get going with it ASAP. So, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to acquire this because, like I said, it took me a while to find it. However, Rick also has a playthrough of Pax Porfiriana, which is still available. You can get this, as you can see, it's a shrink wrap edition. And for this, it comes with a solo variant, which he kind of fleshed out a little, and his rules can be found on Board Game Geek. And so I got this one. And I kind of decided, you know, I'm never going to get Pax Porfiriana, Pax Pamir, because it's not available, although his expansion is. And I basically said goodbye to this. However, when I got Pax Porfiriana, it was also in the mail today, and this is a similar game, and it's set in Mexico at the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. My wish to own Pax Pamir was rekindled because you again have money, wooden cubes, you have the cards, and I think it comes with, does it say on the box with how many cards it comes? It comes with baggies anyway. 220 cards, but you don't use more than 50, I believe, per game, so the replayability is extremely high. But this is the collector's edition, and it comes with a map, which is double-sided. So on this side, you have a player, well, it's kind of like more like a player area. It's not a map for Pax Porfiriana. So how this works is you take the role of a haciendado or hacendado, depending on which version you choose, and you try to play for influence, so it's a political game. And you play against Diaz. His name is, as far as I know, Porfiri Diaz, hence the name Pax Porfiriana, because it's his piece. And it's a political game, and the cards will give you the possibility of buying agricultural enterprises. So there are farms, I believe there are mines. You can recruit troops and put them into your mines, into your farms, in order to ensure that nobody steals them from you or nobody incites rebellion in them. And you're essentially trying to acquire either influence. I think that there are different types of stats that you can influence, and you're trying to win in the solo game against the dummy player Diaz. And how this works is you have a stack of cards over here, and you seed this marketplace. And these numbers up here and down here denote how expensive the cards are. So these ones you get for 0, and these ones you get for 16 gold or whatever, for 16 currency. So what Rick Royale did was he decided that he's gonna add a little bit of randomness to the game of the dummy player by saying, okay, we're gonna roll 2 d6s, and on a roll of 7, which is the highest probability, he will take this card on his first draw, and then this card on his second draw if he again rolls a 7. So you have 7, and here you have 12 and 2, because these are the two least probable numbers when you roll 2 d6s. And also in a 2-player game or more player game, it would of course mean these ones are more expensive, the most expensive cards in fact, so they are least likely to be taken. So you start at 7, you have 12 and 2 here, 11, 3, 10, 4, 9, 5, 8, 6, in order to simulate somebody buying the cards. The other player, the dummy player, can also attack you, so he can move his troops into your area. So it is a really, really well thought out variant that he plays, and I assume it's probably even in the book by this stage, because this is the yeah, here we have the solitaire variant. Set up the solitaire game as per part C for 2 players, but your opponent is Diaz himself. You will need a 6-sided die. You go first. Well, we have 2 6-sided dice because we're following Rick Royale's ideas and how he would like to play it. And this is essentially a really nice rule set, by the way. And it explains the different types of cards there are, how you can use them. So for example, you have, let's say, so you have the 4 possible stats: loyalty, command, revolution, outrage. Here we have an enterprise. It's a plantation. It tells you where it is located. This is in not in Chihuahua, but in the other place. I can't read it actually. It explains to you also how you can get to it. It's got a little train symbol. So if you want to send troops in, the troops have to have the train symbol, and you have to pay 1 or whatever gold to send them there. There are places that can only be reached by on foot or by mule or donkey, and if you do not have troops that have these the donkey symbol, for example, you can't deploy them there. You also have to ensure that the troops are deployed at the right place, because there are different areas in the country. There's Chihuahua and Sonora. There may be more, but I believe it's only those 2. And if you have troops that are only in Chihuahua, you can't place them on a Sonora enterprise, for example. There are other things you can do. There are other types of cards. You gain income from your cards. You can also gain income from your opponent's cards if you play your cards right. Sorry, no pun intended there. Obviously, since I said that they are trying to educate people about the story and about the history that they are, I guess, showing in their game, they come with quite a lot of information and background in the design notes. It comes with a glossary, bull bear discards. There is also an economic situation part of this. You can extort money, you can jail someone, and so on and so forth. And it's a solid game, and I'm really looking forward to playing this. But in addition to this player area or play area, it comes with a map for Pax Pamir. So instead of having the cards, which you can then place to have Trans-Caspian, Kabul, Punjab, Herat, Kandahar, and Persia, which was represented by cards that you would place on the table, you actually now have a player area and a map. Here you can place your cards, and you have the information of what you can do. And this comes with the Pax Porfiriana Collector's Edition in, I guess, the same box, because they could, and because they felt, we can add to Pax Pamir and make it an even more user-friendly and player-friendly game. So the only thing now that's missing for me is the expansion to Pax Pamir. Does this actually fit? Oh, it fits. That's super. The Pax Pamir expansion, and once I've got this, I will get started on these games. I should get the expansion this Thursday, and I will be getting Viticulture, I believe, tomorrow, and Tuscany as well, possibly Friday, I don't know. But I have a lot of gaming ahead of me, and I have also done something that I never thought I would do. I have bought Mage Knight and the Mage Knight Lost Legions expansion and the Tesla expansion. So, yeah. I was always dancing around Mage Knight because I was kind of like put off by people saying, it's actually not a complex game, because that doesn't put me off, but it's a complicated game. And I felt, okay, complicated, lots of chrome, lots of complication that you don't really need. Do I really want this? Blah, blah, blah. And then I watched a playthrough by Solar McLaughlin, and then I watched another playthrough by, I guess, Rick Royale, actually. And I was like, that game isn't complicated. It is complex, but that's different. And what I liked about it was that it combines so many different types of actions and different types of game mechanics. Like you have exploration, which is tile-based, where you seed a tile deck, like you would, for example, in the D&D board games. You also have, the tile drawing as you build your map is like Robinson Crusoe, or it's like the D&D board games. Although, of course, there is much more detail on the tiles than in either of these two games. And you really, basically, as you draw the tiles, a new world unfolds, and you can encounter different spaces. They do different things. Some have foes in them, some will give you crystals, some will let you explore a dungeon or a mine. So in a way, it kind of reminded me almost of the Seventh Continent, where actually the artwork of the cards is part of the game. So yeah, you have that. Then you have the travel aspect. It's a fantasy game where you explore the world and basically fight monsters and work towards an end game or end boss, which is very much, or reminded me very much of Runebound 2nd Edition, which is a game that I love and adore. Then I like the fact that it's a deck builder. So you have your hero, the Mage Knight, and this hero has a couple of abilities and skills which you get as you do character progression, because you also have character progression as you fight your way along the road and try to win fame. That's experience in this game. You become more famous, you level up, you get additional skills, but you also have a stack of cards that you start your game with, which is the base stack. And as far as I understand, it's you have several cards that are the same for every player and every type of hero you play, and then you have, I believe, 2 cards that are specific to your hero. And they basically, you draw your hand size, 5 cards, 6 cards, depending. And unlike a deck builder, let's say like Legendary Encounters Alien, where you throw away the cards that you don't use and the cards that you do use after your turn, you only discard the cards that you played. And then you keep the rest of the cards for the rest of the round. So a round is either a day turn or a night turn. And it consists of several turns that you take. And at the end of your turn, you redraw up to your hand size, but anything that you've decided not to use stays in your hand. So this allows you to actually build a hand of cards that you can use to perform whatever action you would like to perform, hoping that the other player doesn't interfere with what you're trying to do. And maybe if you want to explore a mage tower, and you're building up the firepower to do so, if somebody else is stronger more quickly, he might go there and just take the fame. Well, actually, yeah, the fame and the loot from under your nose, because you were too slow in building up, because you weren't drawing the right cards. You get to recruit cards using influence, or if you, for example, I believe if you go into a mage tower and are successful in your conquest, you get a spell. If you are in a certain type of terrain, I think it's villages, but possibly also monasteries. I want to say you can recruit troops if they are available and if you have enough influence, so you can build, if you like, side troops that you can command. Like in a war game, you have a sphere of influence, which is called command, and it depends on the amount of command tokens that you have, how many different troops you can have. So even if you have a lot of influence, but if you don't have any empty command slots because you're not famous enough yet, so you don't have enough reach, as it were, you may have a lot of influence for this particular turn, but you can't spend it because you don't have any free command slots. Likewise, you might have free command slots, but you don't have enough influence to get the card you would like, to hire the troops you would like. And then there is another component to this, because not only do you have cards that you use to play for their effect, but I think almost every card that I've seen played has 2 effects. One is a basic effect that you get when you play it, and one is an effect that you can tap into if you spend mana. Now, mana is like resources in the Lord of the Rings LCG. There are different types of mana. They're all color-coded. You have basic colors, and then you have, non-basic colors, advanced colors, or special colors. The gold color and the black color. Black colors are important at night, and the gold color comes in during the day, and the gold color during the day is like a wild card. You can substitute it for any other basic color, and I think we have blue, white, red, and green base colors, I believe. Don't crucify me if I missed a color, if I misinterpreted or misremember it rather. And how do you get mana? Well, on the one hand, you can go and apparently mine for crystals. If you go to a crystal mine, you get a mana crystal of a particular color. You can also get them through card effects, in which case they are tokens. They look the same, and I think this may be a bit complicated for non-gamers or people who are new to the gaming hobby. There's a distinction between a mana crystal, which you put into your inventory and which you can store there up to a certain limit, and a mana token, which you get, which you have to spend on your turn, and if you don't spend it, then it goes away. And And then the third possibility of getting mana is by rolling the mana die. The mana die are rolled, or the mana dice I should say, because there's more than one, are rolled at the beginning of the round. And then once you use one of them, you re-roll that one. And you can usually only take one of these on your turn. There are always more than one in the reserve, but you can only ever use one. There are exceptions. There are cards that allow you to use more than one, but usually the rule of thumb is you can use one of these dice to access the second part of your, or the other part of your card. And one more thing that you can do is you can play, as far as I can tell, any card, regardless of what the card text says this card would do, to get one of each. So you can play an influence card sideways. It's called playing it sideways because you actually play it sideways instead of this side up. And then you can choose, I'm going to use this influence card, but not for its influence ability, but to move one, to get one move, or to get one block, or to get one attack. You can play a move card sideways to get one attack, or one influence, or one block. So I think that it probably correlates to the 4 basic actions that you have: to move, to attack, to block, and to use influence. I don't think you can use these playing sideways rules to do something more elaborate. Like there's a card called Concentrate, which I believe allows you to gain a crystal. I believe it's a crystal you gain, and you can't just say I'm going to take any old card and play it sideways and then turn it into a Concentrate card. I'm not sure if you can play them sideways to heal. I believe you can't, but again, I haven't really played the game myself. I haven't even read the rules. I've just observed players play it. But it's just such a big game with so many different mechanics rolled into one. All of these mechanics are mechanics I like: exploration, deck building, character advancement, and I like the fantasy theme. As far as combat is concerned, that is completely abstract. You get a token that you're fighting. You don't even get a mini that you fight. So you have minis for your heroes, and each city has a miniature as well, which is weird, and they're also pre-painted, and they come from the hero click system. You can turn them, and then you get different values in the cities at least. But combat against an enemy is the enemy has a chit that you reveal. There are certain rules as to when you reveal them, how you reveal them. Sometimes you reveal them as you put them down. Sometimes you have to stand adjacent to them. Some don't get revealed during the night, or always get revealed during the day, but not, during the night or something. And on the back of the chit, you see the type of enemy, what is their ranged attack, if you want to attack them, or if they are basically entrenched, then they would have a siege value that you need to meet in order to kill them during siege. Then they have their own attack, which you need to block, and then the melee value, if you like. So in a way, that did remind me kind of the 3-partite battle system that you have in Runebound 2nd edition, where you have 3 battle phases. You have ranged, then I believe next up is psychic, spiritual, magic, and then the last one is melee. And you are only ever allowed to attack in one of them, and the enemy will attack you on the ones that you don't attack in. So here it's slightly different. You first check their ranged or siege value. If you have ranged attack and you can meet or exceed their ranged defense, then you win. If you don't, then they get to attack, and then you need to block, and then you get the melee attack. I was actually surprised because it's pretty straightforward. You can play cards to attack. You can use the ability of your units, of your troops. However, you can only use them once per round, I want to say. They only refresh when day changes to night. Maybe there are cards that allow you to refresh them, but as far as I can tell, they only last you for a day or a night. So, and a day or a night can have many turns. So you might, if you use them on your first turn, they might not come back to you for another 5 turns or so. Apparently the average number of turns per round is about 5.65. I looked it up on BGG because I'm a stats nerd. But the game itself has a huge footprint because you have a huge board where you put down your fame, you have all of the cards that you need to draw from the different card piles, you have offerings that you can buy from, and then of course you build the map. And in the games that I saw, I felt that the map was actually the smallest part of the footprint. But it's just, I mean, if people say it's complicated, I don't think that they're actually capturing the essence of the game. It is very, very complex. But I would say once you know the rules, and I don't think that you would have to know every single chit and be friends with every single enemy token to have a game flowing, you know, as long as you know how to interpret the information, which is all without words. There are no words on the chits. It's all completely symbol based. There are also chits that represent your skills. And there I have to say some of these symbols are impossible to interpret. When you see the chit, you would go, what does that mean? So you do get a player aid, and it's all in the book, and you have to really read it and kind of understand what's being said there. But I think from what I've seen and also what I've heard people say, although it's for 1 to 4 players, it probably plays best with 1, because while you're figuring out what you are doing, there isn't very much interaction. There is player versus player, and there are cooperative scenarios, but usually everybody basically follows their own path, tries to get their own results, and plays pretty much by themselves. You don't really have to engage your opponents. You can just go ahead and try to fulfill the mission on your own and ignore them completely. But there is so much you can do that even if you don't have analysis paralysis, it takes a lot of planning. And while you are playing your own turn, everyone else will have to watch and sit there. And it can, I think, a turn can take 5 to 10 minutes. Thinking about it. Getting the best combination out of your mana, your crystals, your cards, also making a decision, where do you want to move, what do you want to do, blah, blah, blah. And of course you can think about some things while somebody else is making their moves but and playing their turn. But if they, for example, then decide to attack a place that you were going to attack, of course, then you have to rethink your whole thing. So I believe playing it with other people would, first of all, take a lot longer than most games. But then again, they say playing time 2 to 3 hours. I mean, that's an Arkham Horror game easily. But it's not like Arkham Horror, because what appeals to me is that it actually looks like a really, really, really intricate puzzle. And I'm really looking forward to getting this. And like I said, I danced around this game for the last 6 years since it came out. And I always shied away from it, and something this week just clicked. And I was like, I'm going to get that game. I want that game, and I think it's going to be a perfect fit. So yeah, you can look forward to this, or maybe not, because if you don't like Mage Knight, then of course it's not interesting for you to watch my playthroughs. I've also recorded another playthrough of Escape the Dark Castle, because on my first playthrough I made several serious mistakes. Number one, I didn't realize that there was an item limit, so I carried around dozens of items, not literally, but many items, and usually you can only have 2. And one minor problem was when one of the characters die, the game ends. I wouldn't play like this because since I'm on my own, I don't need to worry about player elimination and then the other player just sitting around going, okay, well, you know, you have fun, guys, while I'm kind of sitting there watching you go through the chapters. So I wouldn't say if one of the characters die, it's the end of the game. But I tried to win with one character and I lost. But I'm gonna do another. I've already recorded it. I just need to upload it. And I'm also going to do a playthrough of the Cards of Cthulhu, which is a nice game. I've played it a couple of times. I've only ever won it in easy mode and then only barely. I've not won it in normal mode. And I think it's a nice game if you want to kill 30 minutes. And usually when you play in normal mode, you will die within 30 minutes. So if you know you have 30 minutes and you don't want to play on Nirem, but you have this one handy, play this one. It's a nice non-Nirem game. And 30 minutes are all that it takes for the great old ones to kill you. There is no way you can win this game. So I wish you all a pleasant evening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for the lovely interactions I've had with people recently on my channel. This one I got through Amazon co.uk. It's still around. If you're interested, I can really recommend this game. And it plays solo out of the box. It has a solo variant. I would say check the one out that Rick Royale does. He also has a printable version of his changes to the rule set, and they actually fit the box. And if you happen to have Pax Pamir, get this anyway because you have a nice player mat then. And if you can get Pax Pamir, also make sure you get the solo expansion written by Rick Royale. So have a lovely evening and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.